Hello. I wanted to share with you, I had a great conversation with a gentleman earlier this week, and he was asking me what I did, and I told him what I do and who I work with. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Trina L. Martin. I'm the Queen of Equality in Tech, and I help women of color get the pay, promotions, and respect they deserve by learning how to negotiate, lead, and show up confidently as their whole authentic selves in the tech industry. Well, this gentleman and I, we were having this great conversation. And when he found out what I did, he said, "Oh, that's great." He said, "Because the tech industry is primarily white men." And we all know that. That's why women and women of color, especially, are underrepresented in the tech industry. So he posed this question to me, and it got me to thinking, which made me come on today. And I'm going to ask this question of you. So he asked me, he said, "Well, since you're an advocate for women of color in tech," he said, if there is a position open and there is one white woman and one woman of color, and they're both equally qualified, who do you hire?" And that's when I started really thinking, because I said, well, the first thing that you need to do, and I'm going to share with you these three things that I think that are most important for you to do when you are in the situation, because that is a good scenario. First, you need to look at your company and where it is now. Look at your workforce. Is it made up of all or mostly white cisgender men? That's the first thing. So, and most tech companies are. Two, you need to look for someone who doesn't fit your culture. And when I say that, I mean, when you go and you're looking for someone that fits into your culture and, it's like what you already have, you're not changing. You're just continuing to perpetuate what you already have. And if you really want to be diverse and inclusive in your workplace, you need to step outside of your box and step outside of what you normally do and what you consider as normal. Because DE&I in tech is very necessary, because we know that companies that are diverse, um, perform better. They have employees that stay and are happy where they are, and they have people who want to do business with them. So these things are very important. But then the third and most important thing is you need to acknowledge the unconscious bias in your workplace, which is probably the reason why you're at the point where you are now, and you're going, okay, I have two qualified candidates. Do I hire the person of color, or do I hire the white person? But then I want to go back to number two, with not looking within for somebody who fits your culture. You need to look for someone who is, outside of your culture, because people have different perspectives on things, and you don't want to get into that groove, or you want to break away from being that workplace that have people who all look alike, who all think alike, who have the same ideas, the same perspectives, or they go with the status quo. You want the person who is going to challenge the norm, the person who has a different point of view, who has different perspectives. That's the person that you want. And you also want to get away from looking so much at a person's hard skills, but look at their soft skills, because many a times there are people out there who may not know how to code the latest coding language, but they're very willing and eager to learn, and they have experience in doing other languages, such as myself. I spent 20 years programming. I was a mainframe programmer. Yes, I knew all the other, some other languages, and I could pick up languages, because once you know how to program, it's basically all the same. easily. But if somebody looked at me and said today and said, "Oh, you only know how to program, COBOL," that's really not fair, because yes, I know how to program COBOL, but does that mean I don't have the aptitude to program in Python? I do, and it's actually a lot easier than COBOL. So I think that's another thing that tech companies need to get away from when they're looking at candidates. But I want you to think about that scenario. Think about if you're a tech company or you're somebody who's hiring for the tech workforce, you think about the scenario that I posed to you. If you have two candidates for a position, one is white, one is a person of color, and they're both equally qualified, who would you hire? Especially if you have a company that you know is not diverse. And we all know in this day and age, you have to be diverse in your business to thrive. I mean, yeah, you could go on doing that, but what sense does that make? You're not really affecting change and having a company that's different. So I would like you to tell me in the comments, given that scenario, given the 3 points that I gave you, which is one, look at where your company is now. Who's in your workforce? Is it all white men? You need to look at that. Two, you need to look outside of someone who's going to fit in your culture, in your little box that you already have been operating in. You need to get away from looking so intently on the hard skills. Look at what someone brings outside of those hard skills. Look at their different perspectives and their aptitude and their willingness to learn. Then you also need to acknowledge your unconscious biases in your workplace and what you need to do to get past those and start to really operate in a diverse and an inclusive workspace. So let me know in the comments, what who would you hire? Which candidate, given what I just said in the scenario, let me know which candidate you would hire. And if you're looking for someone to help you make your workplace truly diverse and inclusive by hiring a woman of color who you can hire, promote, and retain, please reach out to me, because I would love to work with you. So that's it for today.